Good evening all, and welcome to the Solanco School District Board of School Directors meeting tonight, November 7th, 2022, both here in person at the admin building and on our Solanco YouTube channel. So at this time, we'll have the secretary give the roll call.
Mr. Robinson?
Here.
Mr. Kaufman? Mrs. Alsell?
Here.
Mr. Roten? Mr. Weimer?
Here.
Mr. Graybill?
Here.
Mr. Kreider?
Here.
Mr. Musser?
Here.
And Mr. Chuck.
Here. Please stand if you're able to for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll now take a moment of silence. Okay, thank you very much. At this time, we move into the portion of our meeting for the presentation of the Students of the Month for elementary schools.
Good evening. Tonight I have the distinct pleasure of recognizing 4 of our young learners as Students of the Month. So we're excited to present these students to you and talk a little bit about the attributes that they displayed in order to be named as a Student of the Month. So again, we'll talk about that through a letter that their teachers have written on their behalf. So each Student of the Month will actually receive that letter that was written on their behalf, as well as a certificate that recognizes them as a Student of the Month, in addition to a special meal that they get as a Student of the Month to the Daily Grind. So those are all very coveted items. In addition to this t-shirt, also again recognizing them as a Student of the Month. So we will begin with our Providence Elementary students. So if Billy, if you wouldn't mind.
So it is my pleasure to recognize Jixer Trout up here tonight, recognized by Mrs. Link, his 4th grade teacher.
All right. Dear Dr. Bliss and the members of the Solanco School Board, it is with great pleasure that I nominate Jixer Trout as Providence Elementary Student of the Month for the month of November of 2022. Jixer consistently exemplifies our 4 Solanco expectations: respect, responsibility, courage, and kindness. He goes above and beyond to do his best at everything that he does without seeking recognition. Jixer is kind, respectful, and positive to everyone that he encounters. He is encouraging to his classmates and wants them to succeed. This was evident when recently a classmate, was down on himself while having difficulty in math. Jixer encouraged his classmate, reminding him that he was smart and capable of getting the job done. Jixer brings a warm smile and positive vibe to any situation that he encounters, along with an awesome sense of humor. In addition to exemplifying kindness and respect, Jixer is also a very responsible student. He works hard in class to stay focused and completes all of his assignments with careful consideration. He cares about his academic success, so he is sure to ask questions for clarification when needed. Jixer is organized and always prepared for class. Aside from being a wonderful student, he helps to take care of school property and our classroom. Without being asked, he goes through and organizes our classroom at the end of every single school day, being careful to place things perfectly for our next day. Not only is he responsible in the classroom, he exemplifies responsibility wherever he is throughout the school. He is a faithful book buddy to a 1st grade student with whom he works every morning on building reading skills. He's a positive role model, whether in the classroom, walking through the hallway, at special, at recess, or in the cafeteria. Finally, Jixer is courageous because he strives to be a good person, not because he wants to be recognized, but because he knows it's the right thing to do. He consistently makes good choices even when it's easier to follow the crowd. He is also a risk taker in class. He stays actively involved and meets any challenge with the perfect combination of energy, motivation, and positivity. It has been an honor and a privilege to be Jixer's 4th grade teacher this year, and it is a true joy to see his kind eyes and warm smile every morning when he walks through the door. I look forward to all of his accomplishments this school year and beyond, and am so excited for what is in store for him as he continues to learn and grow. For these reasons and more, I nominate Jixer Trout to be the Solanco School Board Student of the Month for November of 2022.
And if Jixer's family could stand to be recognized.
Mrs. Gajecki, Coreyville.
Stand on this side so we're right. I am going to be reading the letter this evening on behalf of 2 Coreyville teachers. So good evening, Solanco School Board members, administrators, students, families, and community members. This evening, I'm pleased to share the many reasons why Haley Perella has been selected as the Coreyville Elementary School Student of the Month. In music class and in violin lessons, Ms. Reeb notes that Haley has gone above and beyond the required tasks. She practices frequently and works diligently to improve, and it shows in her musicality and performance. Haley has also recently begun composing her own pieces for violin. Her work ethic and dedication to her craft is that of a far more mature musician. Most importantly, though, is the way Haley cares for others. She acts as a leader in the orchestra, shows kindness to her fellow musicians. It is a delight to teach such a kind and hardworking student who embodies all of Solanco's values. In the classroom, Mrs. Price shared that Haley is an outstanding role model and shows academic excellence. She is an exceptionally talented and dedicated student. She takes ownership of her learning. You can see this in the classroom when she takes her time to think about an answer before writing it down or sharing it. Haley's work is exemplary. She strives to do her best on every assignment and is always willing to help other classmates. Haley is an excellent role model for her peers. She will often help a fellow student that is confused about the directions or doesn't understand a concept. She is a creative thinker and is always contributing new and unique ideas to our classroom. Haley is successful because she has an exceptional work ethic. She has a dedication to her school and drive to be successful in all that she does. She is highly recommended by all of the teachers in the 4th grade. It is for these reasons that Haley Perella is nominated as the Coreyville Student of the Month. Congratulations, Haley. And if Haley's family could also stand to be recognized.
Mr. Zander, Claremont.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce our Claremont Student of the Month, Beckham Gallardi, and his teacher, Mrs. Crone.
Dear Dr. Bliss, members of the school board, and all those in attendance, it is my honor to nominate my student, Beckham Gallardi, as Claremont Student of the Month for November. Beckham is a driven student who loves school and puts his best effort into all that he does. He loves to set goals for himself, and the excitement he has when he exceeds ones is the best. He tells me that math is his favorite, and yet he comes up with the best ideas for a STEM project. The details in his stories are creative, and you'll almost always find him completely lost in a book. In fact, I think Beckham's convinced himself that he's mastered the whole walking and reading thing, but if you ask the walls or chairs in our school, they might have something different to say. No matter the subject or the challenge, Beckham puts in the hard work, dedication, and time to be successful. This makes Beckham the excellent student that he is. Beckham's a natural-born leader with a positive attitude that classmates gravitate towards. They gravitate towards for guidance, and he doesn't even realize it. This humble kiddo can always be found doing the right thing, no matter who is or isn't watching, and he never expects to be rewarded for it. Everyone knows that kids have energy, but the type of energy that Beckham has is electric. It's the kind that we all wish we had. The moment he sees me in the morning, he's bursting with a story it seems like he's been bottling it up for years to tell me. His excitement for learning something new shines bright in his eyes. We love his funny stories, big smile, and contagious laugh that lights up our room. My favorite laugh is when he comes up to me asking where something is. and I point out that it's in his hand. Hearing, "What would I do without you, Mrs. Crone," as he belly laughs, makes me smile. But I can't help but think, what am I going to do without Beckham next year? I'll have to cross that emotional bridge when I come to it, but thankfully that's not today. It's easy to see Beckham's the type of student you wish you could duplicate or keep in your class forever. There's no doubt in my mind that Beckham earned the honor of Student of the Month. The world is a bright place with kids like Beckham.
If I could have Beckham's family stand to be recognized.
And Mrs. Parrish, Park Boy.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to introduce Ryder Gregory and his teacher, Mrs. Ashley Sipe.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Sipe, and it's my pleasure to present Ryder as Student of the Month for Bart Lorraine for the month of November. Ryder is a PM kindergarten student, and he is the perfect example of a hardworking student. I'm very proud of everything I've seen him do already just this year. At school, Ryder loves to read, write, and practice numbers. He's very creative and takes his time when completing any activity. Whether we're practicing letters and sounds, learning new sight words, practicing a math skill, or reading a story, Ryder is always listening and absorbing the new information. Ryder is a glowing example of all of our Solanco expectations. He shows respect for his classmates by being a good listener and using kind words. He shows responsibility by doing his work in a timely fashion and completing all assignments. He shows courage by being a leader and doing the right thing in all aspects of his day. He shows kindness when helping students in need or helping a teacher with a job. Ryder is a friend to everyone in our class. Ryder is truly an unsung hero in kindergarten. He never seeks to be the center of attention, but his quiet leadership is very evident in the classroom. Ryder's kindergarten year has gotten off to a fantastic start. He's a caring soul, and I'm very fortunate to have him in my class. Thank you.
And if Ryder's family can stand, please be recognized.
Okay. And I'm also going to ask Coach Hall to come up. We have one more student to recognize who is not on that particular list, but if you believe you're going to invite Logan Wagner up.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen of the board, thank you very much for the couple of minutes that I was able to steal this evening. Throughout the athletic season, there's a lot of attention that's given to a lot of our teams, and sometimes there's multiple teams that we have that compete as a team, but they also compete as individuals. And our golf team is a very successful program here at Solanco. All right, under Coach Minnick, they've won numerous section championships, and again, this year I just found out, we won the section sportsmanship award again for the section. But one of the things I wanted to make sure that got recognized was Logan Wagner. Logan, if you can come up here, please. This young man is a senior for Solanco. He's been competing with the golf team for 4 years now. He's in the process right now of trying to figure out what school he's going to go to. He just whispered to me a little while ago that he thinks he's narrowing it down, but I'm going to allow him to keep that secret for a little while longer. But one of the things that a young person competes for with golf is not only for section titles, but they also compete for the scoring title. This year, Logan won the scoring title for Section 3, which was a repeat, sorry, Section 2, which was a repeat of his junior year, and a repeat of his sophomore year, and a repeat of his freshman year. So Logan has been the scoring champion for our section 4 consecutive years, an extremely impressive feat. And I did not want that to go not recognized, except for, yes, we pulled him out of the student section on our last home football game and tried to embarrass him on the track, because this year he not only qualified for states, and how many total competitors were out at states this year?
I think 72.
Out of 72, he finished 4th. So I wanted to spend a little time not only to present Logan with a certificate from Solanco recognizing his achievement, but also the athletic department and the school district wanted to present you with this golf jacket that not only has Solanco Golf on it, but everywhere you go with a little swag, you're allowed to show everybody that you were a 4-time scoring champion. That will hang on his arm every time he wears it on a golf course. So I just wanted to recognize you for all your achievements this year. Congratulations.
Rich, you want to say something?
Oh,
I wasn't going to put him on the spot.
I'm on the spot now, thanks. No, I've just had the pleasure of coaching Logan for 4 years as, as a coach. People ask me, what do you do as a golf coach? Well, I try and teach them etiquette, rules. Other than that, a lot of them have their own swing coaches and whatever. But Logan took everything that I said and multiplied it. The highest finish, I think we've realized the 4th place finish was the highest finish ever by a Solanco golfer. And the 4-time section champ scoring title has never been done, as far as we know, by any student in any section. So that goes back to Jim Furyk, to whomever else you want to think about. But so that's really all I have to say, and I look forward to following him in college.
Thank you. We love this opportunity to recognize our students and to recognize a lot of their accomplishments, and you can see it from the very youngest to our oldest, from our kindergartners to our seniors. Many of the qualities that really propel them and really make them a joy to have here in the school and in the school district. And I know they make you very proud, and they also make us proud as well. So what we're going to do next is we are going to ask all the students of the month, and Logan as well, if you would allow our board to also congratulate you. This is a presentation for the board. By the very nature, we oftentimes have our backs to them during at least 3/4 of it. So I'm going to ask very shortly that you come up and you can walk around the inside of the tables here in order to allow them to congratulate you. And then you'll be able to go out into the hallway where Mrs. Gajecki is going to take a picture of our Students of the Month, and Logan for you as well, so that we can put that on our social media page and also have that as a memento of the night. Once that is done, parents, you may continue on in your journeys as you walk out. We will have the remainder of the board meeting at that time. But you're certainly welcome to come back in, but you may also exit as well if you so choose to do so at that time. So at this time, Students of the Month, if you wouldn't mind coming up here. Absolutely. And I'll have you start right here and just walk right around the inside of that table right there.
Wish you well.
Yeah, before it runs away from us, my goodness. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we have a few remaining people in our audience, and at this time, we'll put out an invitation for anybody out there to speak, if you so wish. Okay, seeing none, we'll move right on with the review of the November 21st agenda.
So the November 21st agenda is up. You'll notice we'll have Secondary Students of the Month during the next board meeting, in addition to board minutes, financial reports, and personnel, which will continue, I'm sure, to update and fill in with regards to those components. We'll also have the committee reports, as well as the curriculum committee reports, and then dates to remember.
Okay, any questions or comments on next meeting's agenda? Okay, then we will move on to business finance and the IDEA agreement with IU 13. Mrs. Tucker.
Okay. The school district receives IDEA funding annually. It's passed through the IU-13. Normally, the regular amount we receive is $700,000 plus. These funds are used to help pay for the services that we obtain for special education services through the IU. So these additional funds are through the ARP funding, federal COVID funding. It's an additional $174,000, but only about $38,829 physically moves to us. The rest is part of the overhead, as part of the IU-13 programs. So we are using that just to help offset our agreement for special ed services with IU-13.
Okay, any questions or comments from Mrs. Tucker on the IDEA agreement? Seeing or hearing none, I'd like to hear a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the IDEA agreement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Mrs. Tucker, use of funds agreement.
That would be part of the IDEA agreement. So they both go together, more or less. One's just the spreadsheet where we itemize how we're going to spend that, and the other's the actual agreement.
So we are approving the attachment with the funds that are allocated.
Correct.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments from Mrs. Tucker? And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Mrs. Tucker, again, the Innovu renewal.
Okay, this is an analytical program for our healthcare. We have been using this program for the last 5 years. The cost has remained the same for those past 5 years. This is an agreement to extend the agreement for an additional 3 years at the same cost as we have had. This is a valuable program to help us to administer our health care plan.
What do they do for us? I'm sorry.
They analyze our healthcare costs to identify where our most costly items are, so we can help structure our healthcare costs to focus where our needs are and to reduce our costs for healthcare.
So you look at it overall, including RX as well?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions or comments from Mrs. Tucker? Then I request a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next, we have Coach Hall, but he's out in the hallway. Do we want to grab him, bring him in here? Does he know it?
I don't know.
He has departed.
He has departed. So,
I can speak to this.
Dr. Dangler will take over for that then.
So the request that is before you is a request for one of our students to swim as an independent under the Solanco name. This is something we've traditionally done in the past. Again, because we do not have a swim team, it allows the student to actually compete under our district. So we do have policy that is set aside, procedure that is set aside with regards to this. So we would recommend approval for the attached request.
I move to approve the independent swimmer.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Dr. Dangler again, Susquehanna Service Dogs Agreement.
So the agreement that is attached here is for an agreement for facility dogs with Susquehanna Service Dog Group. This particular agreement is actually an agreement that would be made between the owner handlers of the dogs as well as the Susquehanna Service Dog Organization. So again, just to recount this particular piece for everyone here, we had a few meetings from the curriculum committee where we looked at this potential proposal. So the proposal would be to provide 4 facility dogs to the schools as named. So Providence Elementary, Quarryville Elementary School, Swift Claremont as a singular complex, and then Solanco High School. The idea here would be, and the order that the schools are in would actually be the order that we would look to place the dogs. Again, the facility dogs, one of the targeted uses we have for our facility dogs would be to work with our special education classrooms specifically, and some of our high needs classrooms. So generally our emotional support classrooms, as well as our autistic support, life skills classroom, multiple disabilities classrooms as areas that we would actually target for use of the facility dogs. Again, the dogs would be school-wide, meaning they could be used for other children outside of those classrooms, but our primary target and the reason why we're identifying the buildings as we are is because of that. So the agreement lays out the placement of the dogs and the requirements that owners would have to agree to. We would look to secure owners that are current employees of the district that would then be responsible for bringing the dogs to and from school. They would also be responsible for housing the dogs full-time, as well as providing vet care, as well as food that is necessary for the dogs. While the dogs are on site here at the school, we would look to provide furnishings in order to allow them to be here. So places where they could lay, crates, treats that they would be used throughout the day in order to reward the dogs as well. So again, that is the proposal that is before you. We would request approval of that particular proposal.
Okay, any other questions or comments for Dr. Dangler on this agreement?
So we approve this, and this basically gets the ball rolling. You get in contact for getting us service dogs, which takes however long. and
Could
all
be a
that,
long
so,
process,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, so this would actually allow us to then go out and secure the dogs to begin to have owners identified, and then there's some evaluation that occurs as well of the owner's house and things to make sure that there's a good fit with the facility dogs that are there.
And the primary focus is going to be our special education, special needs, that type of.
So that is our target area that we are targeting with this. But again, as always, if we have that resource in the building, if other children were to make use of it.
Right. So I'll make a comment on that, just for me personally, with nobody else. I'll be very honest, this was something I did struggle with in the beginning. Because I do believe from a general education standpoint, I do agree with, they're not going to get this in the railroad, and it's just not something they're going to have and all that. But I'm going to be honest with you, I did my research on this one. I've talked to numerous principals the whole ways down through, to do my research on this. And I did a 180 on this due to the point that I spent some time in the special needs rooms, and I seen some of the harsh environments that some of these students were being put through, and some of their background. Walking in a room, seeing some of these children just when you walk in, shiver down and everything. So I will be a yes vote on this for the reasoning of focusing on the special education and the special needs students. If this was a sole vote just for general ed, I would probably not be doing that. But for that sole reason, I will be a yes vote for this.
Okay, anything else?
So, yeah, I struggled with this as well, and
I'm a no vote on this, and the reason behind that is the concept of this is I've been through the classes
Yeah,
as
I
well,
agree.
and I feel we need to be evaluating what training and what we're giving our teachers to be able to handle the special needs kids. I do think, if this was solely for those classes only, I might have a different opinion. That's my first concern on that. Second concern is you're bringing the special education programs into the general ed. And I think what really concerned me about that is at what point, are these kids going to learn, especially at the high school level, are they going to learn how to become frustrated and deal with it, how to have anxiety and deal with it without a crutch? And I use the crutch lately. At what point do they learn that then, without it? Are we sending them out in the workforce and not knowing how to deal with that? So there's another concern of mine, and where does that stop? And the final one was the cost behind it. I do realize it is ESSER funded at this moment. I understand that. But my understanding is this type of agreement, the teacher that agrees to that dog goes with them and they move from our district. Am I correct on that?
That is correct.
Okay. So there's another concern for me. So my opinion on this, once we put dogs in, dogs aren't going away. So it's going to become a cost. And so I look at this the same way I looked at the SRO program. SRO program was, I'm willing to spend general fund money, taxpayers' money, on that program to make sure they're there. I'm not willing to spend our taxpayers' money on therapy dogs. I couldn't bring myself to do that. So the other point I have would be, what else does this open us up for? If we allow therapy dogs in there, what's next? That's going to be my question. So with that being said, I'm going to be a no vote on this. So that's my statements. And I do have 2 questions after the vote then.
I understand your concern. I've also seen the positives that it's provided. And I think that, I'm assuming we're not going to get 4 dogs, boom, right away. So probably Providence first.
So the order that they're listed is the
Right.
order of priority, so
Right. So, at some point in time, we could say, what? I don't think we're going to go any further, but at least I think it's worth a try, because I think there's some real severe needs, and that is a calming effect for those children at that elementary level at least. So I see the positives in it. I've seen dogs in other school districts. I've experienced it. Like I said, where my husband taught, they had a therapy dog, and it was incredible. So I would be excited to see it.
And I asked that question. That was the other part that I struggled with. There's no quantifiable, it's just all, it does great. And there's nothing sitting there saying, there's therapy dogs in schools all around us.
Right.
And there was nothing that, not to, Mr. Danger, not to your dismay there, but there was nothing sitting there saying, hey, listen, we brought these in and here's what's happened. And that was the other reason we've looked at everything 10 times over and saying, here's the result of our actions. And there was just none of that. And I understand.
It's pretty hard to put data on that.
I know.
Right.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, I appreciate the frank discussions that we had on this. And I really appreciate that we give it some real thorough thought. So, appreciate that. So at that, I'd like to have a motion to approve the Susquehanna Service Dogs Agreement.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions?
I just had 2 for him. Just want to,
Do it now.
what do we do for a dog allergy if a student's severely allergic in that? And second would be, if anything would happen on school premises, what's the liability, what's the legal side of that? Who holds that?
Right.
And is there insurance involved? So
I'll start with the allergy. The first thing that we would do, as we do with all classrooms that have a student that suffers with a severe allergy, is we would we would omit the dog from that classroom and from that child specifically with that allergy. Obviously, we want to omit the dog from the classroom if there's an allergy in the classroom, because just the environment, the hair, the dander, etc., depending on what their allergy is. There's all different types of allergies that children have to animals. With regards to the liability piece, what I will say, and one of the things we heard, because I know that was something that came up as well during the presentation, they are animals, and could there be a potential for a dog to bite or etc.? I'm never going to say never to that. But one of the pieces with regards to the training of these dogs is they are highly screened for that. Given that, if there were a situation that would arise in which a dog happened to bite or hurt a child, the district is responsible in terms of the insurance. We also did go to our insurance provider, to our insurance carrier. Their response to that was in order to, if we were to acquire dogs, the actual rider that we have with our current insurance, we would need to claim them to the insurance company, but there actually would not be an increased cost because of the track record of facility dogs, meaning that the likelihood that this occurs is so low that insurance providers don't necessarily increase. And it's probably one place that they don't. They don't increase your claim in order to have them because the track record is so low. Again, they are animals. I'm never going to say never, but the school district would be responsible in the event that a dog would hurt or bite a child.
So I'd just like to clarify, because we do have a motion and a second now with questions after that, that both those concerns were addressed at a previous presentation. So we're not going into this blindly without having that information. We did have that information before, and so we all knew that going in. So, okay, so we have a motion and a second, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, then we'll move on to the New Hope Counseling Services Agreement.
So the New Hope Counseling Services Agreement is an agreement that we have crafted here at the district level that actually allows for therapy or service providers to come in to provide services to our students, to our children. These services that are counseling services that are provided to our students are through pre-existing relationships, meaning that the providers of these services have pre-existing relationships with students. They're current clients of theirs, or students are seeking out counseling support and services. So oftentimes, when a child is in need of counseling services, we will tell families about all of the service providers that are here in our area that families can actually access. This particular agreement allows New Hope to operate within our school. This is something that we have done in the past with other counseling agencies. So we've actually done this with TW Panessa. We've done this with Morningstar Counseling. Community Services Group is another counseling group that we've worked with that has offered services within our schools. So what we do is we agree to give space to these providers, and we ask in return that certain conditions be met. And so those conditions are stipulated in this agreement, namely that it is an agreement that is between the parent and the counseling provider, that the parent is aware of those services that are occurring. The parent has consented to those services and is telling us that the child is going to be accessing those services in that day. And this is a poor example, but the best example I can give is we give similar service through the Brace Bus. So the Brace Bus will come, they'll arrive on our campus. The child brings in a note that they have an orthodontist appointment. They're going to get on the Brace Bus and go to their appointment and come back. So that the parent is aware it's a pre-existing relationship. This is very similar to that. So New Hope would be the newest organization that we would add. We currently still do have a service agreement with TW Panessa that also works on site. And as I said in the past, we've also had agreements with Morningstar and Community Services Group as well. So again, we would move for approval of this. We feel that it's something that offers a service to our community, to our families, and helps to remove many barriers that folks have with accessing these services.
Okay. Any other questions? Any questions or comments for Dr.
I just
Bangor?
want to make sure, so people, parent consent is key
Yeah.
in this.
Yes. Yep. And that's actually stipulated in the
Yep.
agreement. It's one of the requirements.
Okay, anything else? Okay, then a motion is requested to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Mrs. Tucker, a change order for Bart Colerain.
All right, this is a change order as part of the mechanical construction at the Bart Colerain HVAC upgrade. That project is coming to the end. The final piece should come in around Christmas break and be installed, and then that project should pretty much be complete. This is a small change to this HVAC contract. It's less than $2,000 addition to that contract. It increases the contract to the amount of $1,328,958. And this is to repair leaking pipe fittings on the domestic water line.
Just to clarify, it doesn't add that much to the, that's the total, correct?
The amount that's being added is $1,958.
And this is our only second change order for that entire
That
project.
is correct. We had one on the electrical contract, and this is the
For
first one on the HVAC.
$1,000 or something like that? It
Yes.
was low, too.
Yeah, very minor.
Pretty darn good
It's
for that,
impressive.
for that size project.
Yeah, and who would have thought they'd have found some leaking pipe fittings?
Shocking.
So, okay, any other any questions or comments for Mrs. Tucker on that change order? Hearing none, then I'd request a motion to approve the change order.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Mrs. Tucker again, STS agreement.
Okay, in the environment that we have the last few years, finding difficulty to have staffing and also finding difficulty to obtain substitutes to fill in when our staff is absent. So this is another addendum. This is addendum number 5 to our STS agreement. And this just states that for a substitute that agrees to serve Solanco solely for this school year, we will pay them a higher per diem rate than normal so that we can attract and maintain them throughout the fiscal year so that we have substitutes at our disposal. So instead of paying the $125 that we normally would pay, we are offering to pay them $150 for the day to continue serving Solanco throughout the school year.
Where are the other districts at around us? Are they at that mark?
Yeah, we are all very similar, trying to acquire the same people.
Yeah.
And is this just an agreement between Solanco and a substitute teacher, not through an agency?
This is through the agency.
Through the agency.
Yes.
Do we have to go through an agency for that?
We do, because they have the resources to reach out to the substitutes where we don't necessarily have the time and the resources to do that. And we have utilized substitute teacher services for many, many years.
Gotcha. So in essence, if we're paying 150, we're getting billed for 203.62?
There is a markup, correct?
It's necessary. You know, without subs, we have an issue.
We do.
Have we had any recent issues filling as far as with subs?
We've had issues with coverage and not having enough subs to fill all the slots, all the vacancies that we have.
That's right.
For a little while.
And that's across,
Yeah,
that's
across
across
the-
Oh, yeah.
the whole thing. And so this gives just a little bit of an incentive for them to come back to us and have a sort of a place to stay. So in this climate, I think it's a pretty good thing.
Once we use the service to attract, attract their services, I'm assuming that we can't give them any type of incentive outside of that service. In other words, we use this services agreement, we have the substitute teacher come to the school. There's no way to bypass the agreement and give them the incentive directly, is that correct?
No, no. If they are contracted to work with an agency, yeah, we cannot go
That's right.
around.
We'd have to hire them directly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which could happen.
Any other questions or comments for Mrs. Tucker on the STS agreement addendum? Then I request a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Dr. Dangler, Education Services Agreement.
So the attached education service agreement is for a child receiving special education services that was placed in a placement out in the western side of the state. So this agreement, when a child is placed at a facility, we are required to provide educational services to that child. So this agreement outlines the cost and the type of services that will be provided to the child while they are placed in that particular facility. So we would recommend approval for this agreement.
Well, these services we're not capable of offering here.
So we could, but it's on the other side of the state. So we'd have to send somebody out to
They're not here.
Pittsburgh. They're out on the western side of the state.
But they're a resident here.
They are a resident here, but they're currently placed in a residential treatment facility that is on the western side of the state. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments for Dr. Dangler on the Education Services Agreement? Then I would request a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Dr. Dangler,
So
dual
the-
enrollment agreement.
The dual enrollment agreement that's attached is between Thaddeus Stevens College and Solanco School District. So again, this agreement just re-ups or re-solidifies the agreement that we have with Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology. And this allows our students to take coursework at Thaddeus Stevens that is counted both as collegiate coursework at Thaddeus Stevens as well as high school coursework for us as well. And it outlines the parameters and the cost for those courses to happen. So we would recommend approval for the Thaddeus Stevens dual enrollment agreement.
The cost is on the,
Cost is on the family to pay for
Yes.
the courses, yes.
Any other questions or comments for Dr. Dangler on the dual enrollment agreement? Then I'd request a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Dr. Dangler, Eastern University Affiliation Agreement.
So the affiliation agreement with Eastern University is for a student teaching placement. This would allow student teachers to do their practicum within our schools, and again outlines the responsibilities of both the school district as well as the university with regards to the placement of the student teacher. As many affiliation agreements I believe that we can have with universities to place student teachers is a benefit to us. It helps us to attract potential candidates to our district and really get the word out about what we offer here. So I would recommend approval of the Eastern University affiliation agreement.
how many other colleges are we doing this with?
We have quite a number. I could get that for you,
No,
but we
it's okay.
have
Yeah.
a fairly large number currently.
Good.
This one in particular was requested by a
It was
specific,
requested by the student.
specific individual.
Yeah, usually that's how they come to be, is a student is requesting placement, either because they live locally or close by and they're looking for placement within our district. So this is the first time that we've affiliated with Eastern University, but we're certainly happy to do so.
Do we ever reach out to the colleges and sit there and ask?
We
Or-
absolutely do.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Good.
yeah.
Any other questions or comments, Dr. Dangler? Then I request a motion to approve the Eastern University Affiliation Agreement.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Dr. Dangler again, the School Psychologist Services Agreement.
The School Psychologist Services Agreement is an agreement that we would be making with the attached company in order to secure school psychology services for the time. You'll notice when we get into the personnel report that we do have a school psychologist that will be resigning their position. We also currently have a school psychologist that is getting ready to go out on maternity leave that was also approved. So what we would look to do is to secure a school psychologist currently through this organization while we begin our search. School psychologists are very hard to come by, as are most positions these days. But that search usually takes some time and takes some time to vet. So as we do that, we want to ensure that we continue to provide appropriate services to our students and to our families, and don't necessarily overburden the caseloads of our remaining school psychologists. So we would recommend approval of this particular agreement.
Have we done any background checking on this? Because I did a little bit background checking, and I'm not so sure that they really go with our community values in the community. Like, have we ever used them before? Is this the first time we've used them?
To my knowledge, this is the first time that we've used them. I do know that Mr. Keeler inquired of the IUs as well in order to see if they would have any school psychology candidates that we would be able to utilize, and they also have openings that they are currently trying to fulfill with their own organization. So I know that they did not. So as he was moving through, I know that he did look for other organizations.
I'm just going to make a comment where I'm going to say, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm against it, but I'm also going to say that I'm not comfortable voting yes on this at the current time.
Okay.
I'll be a no vote as well.
So you also then should be able to come up with a viable option, because we are required to provide these services. So I'm not sure where your no's are actually coming from. Is it a company value thing, or is it the individual psychologists that you're?
I looked the company up, and it's an area where I'm just not, I'll be honest with you, I'm not 100%, I don't know 100% about it. I just seen some things in there that I just know that I don't agree with, and I know partial of the community won't agree with either. So at this time, I'm just not comfortable. I mean, we can table it and do a little bit more research. I might be different, but if not, at this time, I'm just not comfortable with it.
So, Dr. Dangler, what do you have to comment on that?
So I can certainly go back to Mr. Keeler, where we can look at that and look to see what other organizations exist that are there. So if it is tabled, just know that in that void and in that absence, that we would need to do is to try to make do with the services that we have.
I'm not trying to make this tough on
certainly
you
still
by no
seek
means.
out
Yeah.
somebody. I mean, we'll actively continue to seek out individuals to fulfill the role, but.
I mean, is this a service where the contract can be, if we found somebody in-house, or it can be, or is it a full one-year contract?
So in terms of the services, Mr. Keeler's texting me, hold on. I believe there are dates that are stipulated within it. November 28th through July 31st. So those would be the terms of it. So if we were to pull an individual in, we would pull them in there. But I do believe also within the contract of the components that if there was an issue that arose from the district, that there is a process in terms of in order to address or take care of that issue with the individual that's there.
Understood.
And Mr. Jester's leaving in October, October 19th, or 60 days from then. So
Right.
there's going to be a chunk of time where the services are needed and we wouldn't have personnel to cover it.
For myself, it's while this evening would certainly be a no vote, it's basically a no because of, would need further clarification / information. And I feel comfortable with a no vote this evening, based on the fact that I believe we do have those 60 days. So if it was something where it had to start and Mr. Jester was leaving tonight, it would be perhaps a slightly different situation.
Sure. So what additional information is warranted or necessary from the organization so that I can direct Mr. Keeler in terms of what he needs to secure and or remedy?
Yeah, so let's do this. We're going to need a motion to remove this from tonight's agenda. And then we should have that discussion separately from this meeting.
Okay.
Okay, agreed?
Agreed.
And do it that way, as opposed to either voting on it and having a yes vote and you guys not in agreement, or possibly being a no vote across the board, and then it sort of
Neglects the purpose.
yeah, it doesn't look good for the whole process. Agreed?
Absolutely.
I think something should be expedited here because we need to fill those 2 positions.
Yeah,
Pretty
yeah,
quickly.
we need to do that. So that's why I say we need some viable options, because this is a needed service, and we have to have it right. I do appreciate the comments that you made, and not to be taken lightly on that. It's very important that we have this right too. So that's good. So then I think that's what we'll do. I have a motion to remove it from tonight's.
I'll motion that.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion to remove it from tonight's agenda. Any other questions or comments on that? Not on the agreement, but on us doing this. Okay? And then we have a motion and a second. So all in favor of removing it is a yes vote. Say aye.
All right.
Any opposed to removing it is a no vote. Okay, then we will not take any action on this tonight. Okay? That'll take us into the personnel report, Dr. Dangler.
Personnel report is attached for your review. You'll notice there are a number of resignations that are listed, as well as a number of employments, some of which are replacing some of the resignations. I'd like to point out 2 specifically. First one, 7.2.1. Mr. Chris Patterson, who is currently being recommended for the assistant principal at Smith Middle School to replace Mrs. Kappa Ferry. That replacement is listed there, as well as 7.2.9, who is Dr. Zach Bowermaster. So Dr. Bowermaster is being recommended as principal for Providence Elementary School to replace Mrs. Corbin as she is leaving. There's also a there's a change of assignment, as well as a number of volunteer basketball coaching positions as well for your consideration. Happy to answer any questions.
Not a question, but a comment.
Go for it.
Go for it, yeah. So we're certainly going to miss Mrs. Corbin. I really appreciate all the time and talent that she has invested in our district, and we're really happy that you're going to get to spend some time with your little guy. And we're also excited to welcome Zach, who is a community member, and he's happy to be back in his community, so we're happy to have him. So.
I second Eugene on that.
Well, I think we're fortunate. We have rock stars for our principals and assistant principals. We're losing some rock stars, but we're also hiring some rock stars too. We know that. So I think this is a good time for Solanco and our administration staff. And again, we're going to miss you,
Thank you.
and we're going to welcome Zach, and we're going to welcome our other assistant principals that are coming also that we had discussed. So, any other questions or comments? Okay, then I request a motion to approve the personnel report as stated.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. That'll take us to any updates. Lancaster 11 and IU 13, where I am the board member from there, and I have nothing. Our meeting is actually tomorrow night, so I'll have a report next meeting. Mr. Musser, the same.
I'll have a report next meeting.
Next meeting, his meeting is coming up. And Justin,
Yes.
CTC.
We had two things I just want to mention is we did have a superintendent of record change. We had Dr. Michael Lausch from Donegal will now be taking over as the superintendent of record. And then also, more exciting in my opinion, is we had Drew Swinehart, a student from Solanco. He was our student of the month at CTC last month, and he specialized in the precision machining and computer-aided manufacturing program.
Awesome.
So I think it's really good to be recognized, Drew Swinehart, representing us well at CTC. That's good stuff.
Good stuff. Okay. Dr. Dangler, dates to remember.
Dates to remember are there and attached. So this Friday we have teacher in-service as well as parent-teacher conferences that are occurring at the elementary level. Our next board meeting is November 21st. That's at 7:30, the general business meeting. The 24th through the 28th will be Thanksgiving break. And then we are quickly into December, where we have our board meetings listed for the 5th and the 19th, followed by Christmas break, which is also then quickly following from December 26th through December 30th, and then our January 2nd meeting. Also important to note, the December 5th board meeting will also be our reorganization meeting that night.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Dr. Dangler on the dates coming up, meetings? Okay. We will need a motion to excuse Mr. Roden and Mr. Kaufman from tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are not in need of any executive session tonight, but before we go there, any other comments or questions from the board from tonight's meeting, or?
I hope everyone noticed in the Lancaster paper yesterday, the Solanco essays that were written, the English department submitted 4 essays, and they were really well written. And it was neat to see Solanco students being showcased in the paper. So congratulations to the English department for producing that. And of course, you know, the football team,
Yeah.
we're all excited for them on Friday night. So, and proud of everything that they've accomplished.
Yeah, I got to email everybody on the band showcase that I was able to go to. And just a shout out to the Solanco band. They represented the Solanco very well. It's quite an event. There was, 9 different schools, I think I said. And it was about 700 kids playing in one event at the end. And it is powerful. So it was really neat and glad to be there. And I'm glad that, you know, we continue to support the music department to be able to give those kids those opportunities. So. Yeah, it was really good.
And just recently, in the paper, there was also a recognition for our art department.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing that's happening and has been happening all along in our schools. So good stuff. Anything else? Okay. Then we would look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting's closed. Thank you. Thank you all for coming.